Hello, I'm Yossi Abraham, and welcome to CX Tech Talk, sponsored by Zappix. This is a conversation about the intersection of AI and patient experience. And today, my guest is Rob Courtney. Rob is the healthcare CTO at Carasoft, where he helps drive growth and innovation across multi-billion dollar healthcare practice, bringing deep expertise in the public sector technology and partnerships. With leadership roles at Veritas, Oracle, HP, Rob has spent over 16 years building, scaling healthcare and public sector businesses, giving him a unique perspective on where the industry is heading. Welcome, Rob.
Good morning, and thank you for the nice introduction.
You're welcome. Can you, as we start, can you just share a bit about yourself beyond what I just said?
Sure. So I've been in this technology industry for 45 years. Um, and one thing I've learned is that technology never stops. There's always going to be advance. And I've been lucky enough to be in this industry, to be in leadership roles in this industry, to sell into public sector and healthcare, which is a calling. It's a calling because in pub sector, either worried about citizens or patients. And healthcare has been my passion for the last close to 20 years because the really good CIOs who want to be leaders, their mission is patient outcomes,
Yes.
not IT for the sake of IT. And so I always try to put myself in a position where I can help them with their mission, which is better outcomes for patients. I've had opportunity to work with many um, end user type C-level people, several different vendors, and now with Carasoft, where we're as you say, multi-billion dollar company that represents thousands of vendors into the public sector industry, and the one that I focus on is healthcare. And what I like to tell people about my role and about Carasoft is when I talk to CIOs that I used to talk to when I was a vendor. I'm not really a vendor now. I don't have a dog in the fight when I'm selling anything, but I have every dog in the fight
Yeah.
because Caresoft carries every vendor that they could possibly imagine. And so one CTO said to me, "So you're like a free consultant to me. If I want to pick up the phone and call you, and I'm looking at a couple different things, you can give me your honest opinion without impacting my, without, having any bias." And I said, "That's exactly right."
Yes.
And so it's a good role for me. Um, and I get to see lots of emerging technology companies because of my title and my presence on LinkedIn, which is, I believe, where you found me. A lot of people find me. They're looking to expand and not just expand into healthcare, but grow into healthcare. They have these incredible solutions and they don't know how to go to market. And that's where Carousel can help them. So it's a fun role.
Yes. That's part of the reason we also joined the Carasoft partnership, and we're a partner of Carasoft too. So I have several questions that I prepared, and let's start. So if you had to explain what is AI to your mother, how would you do it?
So I get asked about AI a lot, and what's funny is AI is not new. It's a new buzzword,
Yeah.
but it's actually been around a long time. And in the simplest terms, AI uses computer technology to do things humans can do, but do it much, much faster. And when I was at HP, I worked closely with HP Labs. AI used to be called predictive analytics, and it was done on these big, giant supercomputers that were in the data center. And the researchers and the hospital would put the research data in there, the patient data in there, and their goal was to give the caregiver the right diagnosis and outcome for the patient at the time of care. That was the promise of AI back then. And that was 15 years ago, 16 years ago. And what's really changed now is the power of the computer, the power of the chip has allowed that processing power and that intelligence to be pushed out all the way to the edge, very close to the patient. So those real-time analytics and those real-time decision-making type uh, formulas can be done closer to the patient and closer to the point of care. And what you're seeing now is that the use of artificial intelligence, which is really funny, it's kind of a dichotomy, right? Artificial intelligence kind of speak the same thing. It's really not big. It's basically computer intelligence, but it still takes a human to program that computer, right? To predict the outcome or predict what the next step needs to be. So I still think it's predictive analytics. It's getting the computer what a human can do much, much faster.
Yes, yes, I like this definition. And before we speak about how healthcare is using it, can you share a bit about your personal experience with AI and how do you use it and how has it grown over the years?
Yeah, so I would say that probably AI uses me as opposed to me using it. Um, I've been pretty computer savvy and technology savvy for a long time, but in my personal life, I see it in use in my Google searches, on my Apple iPhone. Um, I use when I'm driving in the car, I'll use voice to text. So I'm doing hands-free type things.
Yes.
Um, I try not to do that if I don't have to because it's not the right time to do texting or whatever. But those kind of computer generated stuff are what people use in real life today, and they don't even realize they're using AI,
Yes.
but they use it in everyday life. I'm not a big user of Chat GTP. I don't use a lot of the Microsoft tools, but it's because I am now retired. My consulting role was a part-time role. I retired 4 years ago, came back to work 2 years ago for Caresoft, and I love what I'm doing, and I use the technology as best I can when I need to. Um, but a lot of the consumer-based AI technology is presented to me, and it's just easy to use.
Yes, absolutely. So when you're talking with a lot of CIOs of different hospitals and systems and providers, what are the main challenges you see that they're facing, or what are they telling you they're facing today in the industry?
Yeah, so pretty much for the last several years, the biggest issue that they face continues to be cybersecurity. And we'll come back to that in a second. The biggest technology they want to see get deployed is AI. So those two topics become um, front and center in these big conferences. Like I went to Vive in Los Angeles a few weeks back, and I went to HIMSS a couple weeks ago. There was a whole day with an AI forum, and I got to be a speaker during that forum with another partner of ours. During that same day, there was a whole session on cybersecurity. They ran in parallel, um, and they'd have 30 to 35-minute sessions. But I went to a session at a Chime workshop, invitation only, about a year and a half ago. It was put on by the Chime board, and they hosted a panel of three CIOs of very large healthcare systems. And when the topic of AI came up, they said, look, we're not going to use AI to say we have AI. We'll use AI for one of three reasons: to improve patient care, meaning saving lives, to reduce OpEx or improve the bottom line, or number three, to improve our cyber defenses. That's where we want you vendors to focus on. And if we're already using you as one of our cyber vendors, you should be using AI to make your solution better, right? So that you can help me improve my cyber defenses better. But what really stuck with me is the whole improving care and saving lives, and then improving the bottom line. Because in today's provider world, they operate on such slim margins, 2 to 4 points of margin. They're scrambling every day to fund projects. They can't fund some projects. They need real ROI. Technology for a long time produces real ROI. And for a long time, they've always said, I'm not going to invest in technology unless it gives me a real ROI. But the opportunity to improve that bottom line with technology is really, really important. And the issue is they can't really change the pricing. The
Yes.
prices are set by the insurance companies and government.
Yes.
The mix of private pay and government pay impacts their margins because the private payers pay a higher price, but they can't impact that. They have to service the patients who come into the hospital or the clinics. They make more money in elective procedures than they do on standard procedures, but they don't impact that either. That just is a kind of catch as catch can. I remember during the COVID days that the elective procedures were canceled for a good 6 months, sometimes 12 months. The hospitals nearly went out of business because those high margin elective procedures couldn't be done.
Yes.
And when they came back, hospitals got a little bit more healthy, but they're still today operating on very slim margins. So when a new vendor approaches me and wants to become part of the Carosoft ecosystems, I ask them two questions. Number one, what problem do you solve? And number two, what value do you provide to the healthcare provider? If they can't answer those two questions in a few minutes, they probably don't have a good solution. But the ones that can answer those, I get very interested in and I get very invested in, and I want to help them get on board and help them get their solution in the marketplace.
I love this. Last week I had a presentation at MTLC. It's an organization here in Massachusetts, and I spoke about the shift that we need all to make in 2026 and onwards from AGI to ROI. That was the title of that presentation. So how can we move away from the imagination of what AI can do to what business problem is AI going to solve for you, and how are you going to emphasize that in the real show clear ROI whenever you're implementing those solutions?
That's funny because at the HIMSS conference, which was now about 2 weeks ago, I spoke, and the subject of, it was during the AI forum.
Yeah.
And the subject matter was about how AI is changing healthcare. And my opening comments said, how can we, change AI to, instead of saying what if, how can we make it how soon? And I tickled their imagination with several solutions that we have brought to market with other vendors about the reality of AI and solutions that can make a real difference right now in healthcare in one of those three areas.
Yes. So we're talking a lot about AI, but there are still challenges with implementation of AI. And can you think about what are the challenges they are facing and why, and what can we do to help them?
It's been the same thing with technology for a long time. So first of all, they have to deal with what I call change management.
Yes.
The workers on the front line don't like change. They are afraid of change, and they think that AI is going to replace their job someday. But what has proven over my 45-year career is that it frees up technology can free up time so you can do better, more productive things. Now, will technology can it reduce costs and reduce staffing levels? Yes, it can. But to me, the people that are afraid of losing their job aren't providing the real value that they should be providing in their job. So that's number one. Number two is they really have to, the leader, the CIO and the president of the hospital and the head of nursing, they have to embrace the technology. The CIO is no longer a technology enabler. He's a businessman, and they have to work as a businessman to get buy-in from the head of the hospital, from the president, on down to the head of nursing, the clinicians, and get them to embrace the technology and provide the training with the vendor that they can use to train them to get the implementation done as quick as possible. Because the real value is after the implementation is when the value can be provided. And if it's a really good solution, It'll provide that value again and again and again. It's not a one and done kind of value prop. It's a do this and then you can stop doing this and do it more and you'll save more money or you'll save more lives.
Yes.
So I think that whole aspect of change and the fear has got to be overcome. But that comes from leadership.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you there. In healthcare, the human touch is important because we're still dealing with patients sometimes at their most vulnerable times and so on. How do you maintain the human touch when we're talking all the time about automation, AI, and so on?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And so all I can say is the human touch will never go away, in my opinion, um, especially as we care for the elderly. Um, some of those people are alone in their lives or they're at the twilight of their lives and they want good care. They want it from people. Let's face it, healthcare is a people business,
Yes.
right? When you go to a doctor's office or a nurse's office, you're going to see a nurse before you go see the doctor. They want that interaction, right? But if you could give people a tool where they could go online and schedule their appointments or reschedule their appointments with the help of a computer and not have to talk to a human person or wait online for 30 minutes on a phone line, they would take that in a heartbeat, right? It doesn't mean when they go into the office, they're not going to see a doctor. They will. And humans have to provide the treatment, right? Like, so, for example, I went in for knee surgery recently to get my knee replaced. And that took a team of human people from pre-op to pre-testing to the pre-surgical room to the surgical room to the post-op room, all the way down to the bed I was in. And the interaction with humans is required. That'll never go away. Can technology make the experience better? Yes, it has, and it will continue to do that. And so we have to embrace technology as a way to make patient care better, saving lives or improving patient care. But we have to demand that technology delivers results in healthcare.
And I think a great example is also it's all the ambient transcribing today that you can use that to transcribe the conversation so the doctor can really, or the physician can really focus on you as a patient, but then you have the human in the loop to really review that transcription, make the edits, and only then submit it. So I think that's really a good combination of the two.
It's a perfect example of using technology to offload tasks that are done by humans that they don't enjoy.
Yes,
A doctor or a nurse practitioner or a clinician does not enjoy documenting the call, which is required by law and must be entered into the health record. And so when I was running a focus group a few months back, and I asked about where are your successes using AI and where are the places AI might take you or my solutions might take you to improve care or save lives or save money. And ambient technology, ambient listening was the one that everyone's trying
yes.
and having some success. And I know some of the vendors in that space. It's a good space and where the technology does a very good job. And I heard a term at one of my conferences I went to that I never heard before in my career. Ambient listening has been able to reduce pajama time. Now, do
I
you know
heard
what
that.
pajama time is?
Yes.
I
When the
never knew what it was. I said, "What's pajama time?"
yes,
That's at night when the physician, the doctor, or the physician's assistant is documenting their notes and making sure they get it done before the day ends. And if we can give them time back when they're supposed to have family time and reduce pajama time, that's a win-win.
yes,
But I don't
absolutely.
believe that that solution can improve efficiencies. I don't think anyone would say it's a hard ROI, right? I can share maybe later on the call some examples of AI technology that I've now seen that's being deployed, and they give really hard ROIs and give benefits to healthcare providers. Now,
Ah,
I'm
but
not saying that there isn't a hard ROI on that. I just haven't seen the hard ROI.
yeah,
But improving efficiency, if they really are doing a good job, and you know, probably they're going to have reduced turnover. Turnover is a very high cost.
yes.
You lose people because the work environment or the workload is so overwhelming. That's a high cost because you lose patience. So my guess is they probably have good documentation that says reducing turnover from 10% to 5% is actually a good hard ROI. So I probably can get Stan corrected on that. Um, but I know of lots of other examples too.
So I'd love to hear if you can share one or two examples of hard ROI that you have seen.
Yeah, so I'll share two. The first one is we brought a company on board. I'll give you the name of the company. I'm not going to try and give them an advertisement, but they have an incredible technology. The company is called Nicolab, and they've been deployed internationally for 10 or 15 years internationally. What they do is they provide AI tools for stroke diagnosis and remediation. So, and what they can do is diagnose the stroke through all the layers, present that in way less time to the neurologist or the radiologist. I mean, instead of it being an hour from the PAC system, they can deliver it in 10 minutes to any device, anywhere, anytime. And if
Wow.
you can speed this, and it'll give a recommendation in terms of what the diagnosis is. And what they can do is speed care from 60 minutes to, they can drop the reading of the thing from 60 minutes to 10 minutes, right? And by doing that, it actually saves lives because when a
Yes.
person has a stroke, every minute counts in terms of their ability to save a life. And they don't have to accept the diagnosis, but they can then see the images right on a phone or a tablet or any device that they're on immediately at the time of care. And it's done in a HIPAA compliant way. And the only reason they haven't deployed in the US yet is because they didn't have FDA approval. Now they have that. They launched at HIMSS. In international, where they've got dozens and dozens of deployments in very large hospitals, they have proven they can improve the diagnosis, which is going to save lives, and they can reduce hospital stays by 2.5 days.
That's clear ROI.
Every time I talk to a CIO or a clinician about reducing, they said that's revenue in the door.
Yes.
And reducing the diagnosis by 50 to 80%, diagnosis time for a stroke patient is saving lives. No questions, impacting lives and impacting care. So that's a great example I like to use because it, number one, saves lives and helps the bottom line.
Yeah.
So it knocks off two of those things. The other exciting one is from a company called Jory AI, Jorie. And I happened to have the pleasure of speaking with them at the HIMSS conference during the AI forum. And what they have done is they have used technology to automate the revenue cycle. What do I mean by revenue cycle? It's the whole claims process. When
Yes.
you get a claim, submit a claim to the insurance company, get the claim back, and get it all the way from the treatment plan up front, which is approved, an approved thing, all the way to the insurance company and get the money back and close it out and record it as revenue. So what they would show is, and they have good deployments already and good references, but they say on average, 6.5% of the claims in the United States are rejected at least once. And of those 6.5%, 20 to 25% of them never get resolved and never brought to revenue because they file it wrong or human error or the insurance company rejects it. And what they've been able to show and do is get that rejection rate from 6.5% to 0.5%
Wow.
with full implementation. So if you just think of that number of the 6.5%, if 2.5 never get resolved and they're already down to 0.5%, they've already all of a sudden saved they've increased the bottom line by 2% without adding any cost,
Yes.
except for the cost of the technology,
Yes.
right? And so this whole revenue, and if you think about it, and in their demo that they showed that day, they actually showed the whole workflow of starting in Epic, logging a claim, interfacing with the billing department, interfacing with the insurance company, getting the information back from the insurance company, taking it back into Epic, and taking it to revenue all the way. They had that demo that worked on fast forward, and it was about 60-second demo. It was amazing. And it's one of those things we talk about early on in the call is, what is AI? It's automating, right, what
Yeah.
humans can do. The reason that there's 6.5% rejection is because it's human intervention. A human has to do that work. Now, is that going to cost people jobs? Possibly.
Yes.
But the most important thing to the hospital, so when they were at Vive showing this, I sat through their demo, and there was a CEO of a hospital provider that showed in the first year, they increased their revenue by implementing this full implementation. Their revenue increased by $34.5 million. This
Wow.
was a $200 million hospital, $250 million hospital. So their revenue increased by almost 10% by implementing this solution. And they take their revenue as a percentage of revenue. So it's almost like a success based. And so if they can increase your revenue by 2% and then take a portion of that as their fee,
It's a
it's
win-win.
almost like a no risk proposition.
Yes.
Very, very strong, and every single hospital needs that. And they're going to use Caresoft to launch because they need to scale.
Yes.
They need to scale. So those are two good examples of things
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about.
Perfect. And when we're looking at patient experience and AI, how do you see the future in the next, I think 15 years is too far, but 5 years, let's say 5 to 7 years. How would you see the future of patient experience there?
Well, I would say that the patient experience, just from my recent hospital visit, which I was in the hospital one day, so I arrived at, I think I read at 1 o'clock. Surgery was at 3 o'clock. That whole experience, you know, from when I got there to when I got to the operating room and got put under, that was lots and lots of human interaction. But all those humans were using technology, right? Um, and then when I got to the recovery room, I had a recovery nurse. When I got to the hospital room, I had a nurse and I had a technician. And I would say that probably AI was in the background, right? I didn't have to use AI, but I'm positive that they did, right? And so when I go see my doctor, are they using ambient listening? I don't know, but I don't care,
Yes.
right? I want all that technology behind me. What I want is the care. I want to be on time. I want to be treated well, and I want to have a successful outcome. So I think the more transparent AI and technology is to the patient, the better, right? But I think there's a lot of technology that are going to improve the patient experience in the hospital room. If you're in the hospital for more than a day, then they need to somehow improve the experience for the patient in the room. And I think there's a lot to do there because I don't see the hard ROI there, right?
Yes.
Um, but people will find ways.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, and we talked a lot about different trends in the healthcare technologies and so on. How do you see companies like Zappix when we're really focusing on patient engagement and how can we improve patient engagement and really driving probably the operational efficiency and the patient experience? How do you see that all merging together?
So another really good question. And I don't know that I have a great answer other than I've been a patient myself recently, both for surgeries as well as going to see a doctor. And I think that the companies that can make the patient experience more efficient, help reduce cost or improve efficiencies from the caregiver, that can be as transparent as possible to the patient are the ones that are going to be the real winners. From scheduling, when you start to go in, to getting into the waiting room, to getting in on time, to being treated on time, to being let go, that whole experience is really what they live for, those caregivers live for. One of the things I've seen recently in the last couple of years is the First Physicians Group, which is who my doctor is part of, and then Sarasota Memorial Hospital, which is where I had my surgeries, they're doing a lot more op or post care surveys, detailed surveys, and I think that's a good thing um, because they're trying to improve their care. They want to see where things are working, where things are not working. The best companies in the world from day one in my career have been the people that want to know if they had a successful outcome and what they did right, and as important, what they did wrong,
Yes.
so they can improve and do better, right? And I'm seeing a lot of focus on that. And I think it's because some of the insurance companies, especially the government, are insisting on a certain survey response in terms of quality of care to get full reimbursement. I've heard some people say my reimbursements dropped to 90% or 8% because, and I said, well, why is that? They go, well, because my survey results aren't good. Aha, that's a smart move by the government,
Yes.
right? Making the patient experience better in order to achieve full payment.
Absolutely. Rob, it was a pleasure. I really want to thank you for this conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure too. And thank you for asking me. Great talking to you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.